Welcome back. As you know, I am Eli, the computer guy, here for the Daily Blob, where I shake my brain nipples every day in order to get some of that dirty YouTube money so I can provide you folks free to the end user, hands-on technology education that empowers you to do what you want to do in Durham, North Carolina. So Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. Next week, we're having a class on AI and SQL. November 19th, we're going to be having a class on AI and web scraping, and we're going to be doing many more classes in Durham, North Carolina. If you're interested, this is an in-person experience. You come, you learn, you go the hell away, and you build a better world for you and your loved ones. That's basically the idea. Do remember, free to the end user isn't actually free. Again, that's one of the reasons I'm shaking my brain nipples here. There's a donor box link down below if you want to throw some money in to help support that particular project. And wow. So I've got a question. I've got a question for you, right? I'm an Aspie. I'm not particularly good with dealing with these human people, right? These human things. And sometimes I take things too far, right? Sometimes I keep laughing after the joke has become very old and stale, and it just kind of makes everybody at the party feel a little bit uncomfortable. And so I've got to ask you now. Like, is it time to stop laughing about this joke of an economy? When does this joke of an economy stop being funny? I don't know. An Aspie would like to know. So yeah, Trump's economy is doing well. Trump's economy is doing amazing. Have you heard about this K-shaped economy? Yeah, the rich are getting richer and everybody else is becoming homeless. That's what they call a K-shaped economy. Hey, more houses are being sold than ever. And you're like, I don't understand, because everybody I know has been laid off and they don't know they're going to pay the mortgage. How are more houses being sold? Oh, well, the rich people now have decided they all want to own 10 apiece. So, ergo, the economy is doing well, right? You may be living in a box, but the S&P 500 is at all-time highs. So come on now, stop complaining about your situation and see what's really important. And what's really important is that Elon Musk gets a $1 trillion compensation package. Anyway, so this is kind of interesting, again, to show you folks what's going on with the economy. When I was doing the one-on-one conversations with people, the problem I got was 90% of everybody was just jobs. It wasn't stacks. It wasn't how to build technology, how to value add, or any of that kind of stuff. It was just jobs. And the big problem I've been trying to explain to people is that, when you talk about jobs, it's about macroeconomic forces. What is going on in the larger economy, right? For 10 years, basically companies were paying to get asses in seats. Ergo, it was easy to get a job. Now, companies are paying to get asses out of seats. Ergo, it is harder to get a job. And it's important to understand this, right, for your career. It is important to understand with your career. Your career will be your entire work life over something like 40 or 50 years, right? So what is happening now is not what will be happening in 3 years. Right now is different than it was 3 years ago, which was different than it was 3 years before that, which was different than it was before 3 years before that, right? We're on somewhere between 3 to 5 year cycles. And so it's important for you to be considering with your career where we are in this particular cycle so that you can figure out what the hell's going on. And so right now, where we are in the cycle is that corporations, stock prices are doing better than ever, and basically they are pumping their stock price by laying off a metric crap ton of people. We're talking about layoffs, right? It's not like, a dozen, or a couple of hundred, or even a couple of thousand, right? You have these companies nowadays, we have these corporations laying off tens of thousands of people at a go. I did the video yesterday talking about Amazon. Amazon is prepping to get rid of 30,000 employees, right? And yesterday, Tuesday, they put an announcement getting rid of 14,000. So the total will be 13,000, but it's not like, 500 from here and 500 from here. And you add up 500 across a whole bunch of different departments. No, they started with 14,000 can get the fuck out and we'll figure out how we're going to get rid of the other 16,000, right? That's happened. Intel is laying off 30,000 people. Microsoft laid off 16,000 people, right? And this is on top of Meta and everybody else. And they are just dumping employees by the bucket load. And so it's important to understand this is the cycle we're in. And I would argue we're not at the end of the beginning of the beginning. This is the point where you sit there with a beer, you're in Brewer's Art, you're drinking a beer with a buddy back in September of 2008, and you're talking to your buddy, it's like, yeah, I wonder if Bear Stearns would matter. I hadn't really ever been thinking about this company called Bear Stearns before. I don't know. Do you think Bear Stearns collapsing? Do you think that'll actually matter to any of us? Nah, who cares about Bear Stearns? Anyways, that's kind of where we're at. So yeah, UPS has cut like 24,000 or some odd 34,000 jobs this year. They're gonna be cutting another 14,000 jobs, 14 white collar thousand jobs. UPS cuts 48,000 jobs in the year to date as its turnaround continues. So how is its turnaround going to continue? Are they implementing new efficiency? No. Implementing new systems? No. Finding new product market fit? No. Figuring out how to squeeze more money out of everything shipped? No. How are they doing a turnaround? Getting rid of damn near 50,000 people. Getting rid of damn near a small-sized city's worth of people. United Parcel Service posted third quarter results that handily beat Wall Street expectations. Because that's what matters in America. If your kid dies because of a disease that would be easily prevented, that is not the thing we got to worry about in the United States. The most important thing that we got to worry about in the United States is stock price go up. Stonks go up. All right? And gave details about its turnaround efforts, including approximately 48,000 job cuts. Shares rose more than 7% in afternoon trading on Tuesday. Right? The elites of our society were clapping, damn near 50,000 people being chucked out onto the streets because that shows that UPS knows what their priority really is. Revenue totaled $21.42 billion, surpassing Wall Street's estimate of $20.84 billion, right? So that's interesting. Almost a billion dollars more in revenue than they were expecting. As they are dumping and continue to dump employees. UPS said in a regulatory filing that it has cut around 34,000 operational positions and closed daily operations at 93 leased and owned buildings during the first 9 months of this year as part of its turnaround effort. The company also announced approximately 14,000 job cuts, mostly within management, right? And so the big thing to be thinking about as a technology professional is, frankly, these are the people we support. These are the people we support. These are the people that use Slack. These are the people that care about user interfaces and user design. These are the people that we just milk all day long with agile projects that have no end. 14,000 of those people are getting cut. It said that it's still looking to identify additional buildings to close. In January, UPS announced that it had reached a deal with Amazon, its biggest customer, to lower its volume by more than 50% by the second half of 2026. During UPS's fourth quarter earnings conference call in January, CEO Carol Tomé said that the company had partnered with Amazon for almost 30 years and that when its contract came up this year, UPS decided to reassess the relationship. And so then, since they've reassessed the relationship, apparently 50 some odd thousand people gotta go. And as I talk about this, just remember with this, again, especially with these white collar people, right? It's not that white collar people are special. It's that they're the ones that generally have pretty big mortgage payments. They're the ones that send their kids to private schools. They're the ones that put a lot of money into the economy one way or the other. And the important thing with these folks is they're the ones that aren't expecting this. We're in this weird society. Where if you have a coal miner, or you have a factory worker, and they've been doing their job for 30 years, and all of a sudden they get laid off, all the white collar workers go, well, they should have seen that coming. I mean, if they had bothered to become educated like me, if they had bothered to do the right thing like me, they would have known their job was actually already obsolete 10 years ago. I mean, it's sad. It's sad that these people are losing their jobs, but really, isn't it their fault at the end of the day? Right? And that's a funny thing, right? There's a superiority complex. The people that are currently successful always believe that somehow they are doing things right, and the people that are failing are doing things wrong. When in reality, most of the time, it's just macro forces. It's just macro. Things happen, that come along the pipe. But the curious thing now is we have a lot of these white-collar workers that have been told they've done the right thing, right? They've gotten $100,000 in student loans or massive amounts of student loans. They've gone into the white-collar workforce. They're doing the white-collar thing. They're doing the jobs that are important to a modern society, is what they think. And the reality is no. Your job became obsolete about 10 years ago. And if you actually knew how to build a good goddamn thing, you would have realized it. But anyways, you're not supposed to say that to the white collar folks. It's funny. You're never supposed to insult the bullies. Have you ever noticed that? Like the bullies will just shit on fucking everybody. And then you walk up to the bully and you're like, yeah, so why the fuck is it your daddy doesn't love you? And then everybody gets on the bully side. Everybody's like, oh, I can't believe you said that to the bully. Well, it's kind of obvious, right? Anyway, so it is interesting, like I said, with the white-collar workers and so many people in this particular social group, right? They feel like they've been doing the right things. The other people haven't been able to keep up. And so now it's going to be curious. To see what happens when they realize just how valueless so much of their work is. It's a fascinating thing that I see when I talk with young people nowadays. As I've talked about before with my career, right? There may be real questions about why me, Yeah. But there's no real question about the position itself, right? As I've said before, right? When the Army equipment comes in that needs to get repaired, you need to repair the fucking equipment. You know why you're there, right? Again, MCSE back in the corporate world, when printers fail or, people install the fucking dancing babies in their Windows 95 machines or whatever else, somebody has to remove the goddamn dancing baby. Like, why it's you and why you're getting paid what you are, that's a question, but somebody's got to get rid of that thing, right? As time's gone by, like all my jobs, I've known, even if I didn't know why it was me and why I was getting paid what I was getting paid, you knew why somebody had to be doing this job. One of the curious things I notice with a lot of the young people nowadays, they don't even know why their job exists. It's not that they can't defend. It's not that they can't defend themselves in the position. They don't really even have an argument for the position itself. They don't know why the position itself is valuable. And many times the reason is because the position itself isn't valuable, and basically it's been created because of low interest rates over well over a decade after the Great Recession kerfuffle that I would argue still is not over. Maybe now it'll finally be over after, God knows, 16, 17 years. So anyways, I think that's going to be the interesting thing with a lot of these folks is they get put out in the world and they don't actually have any skills that are actually valuable to bringing the company revenue and profit, right? It's interesting when I argue and I talk with people, how many people in the corporate world, now again, don't get me wrong, not with the nonprofit world, not with the government world, not with the military, whatever like that, but what's interesting is how many people in the corporate world really don't see their core job at the end of the day as bringing profit to the company. Right? Think about that in the Army. At the end of the day, everybody's infantry. Like whatever your skill set is, at the end of the day, you can be given a rifle and told to take the hill, right? And that's what I kind of think about the business world, right? No matter what your job is in private industry, at the end of the day, your job is to bring revenue and profit to the company. Period, right? And what's curious with so many folks in the corporate world is they really, Eli, I just don't see it that way. And you're like, oh God. What's going to happen to you when your cushy-ass little job goes away? What happens when you have to deal with reality? It'll be curious. Because we've been in this market for 16 years. So think about this, right? When you watch my videos, Eli the Computer, all these videos, I started this in September 2009. I started doing these videos about 6 months after I closed down my business after the Great Recession. So the Great Recession technically started, I guess, in 2008. So anyways, if you look at the life of this channel, we're now at over 16 years. That is how long this bull market has been running for people that are at least in the right particular sectors. For 16 fucking years. A lot of people have seen nothing but up. Literally, if they showed up to work at the beginning of the day, they would get their bonuses and they would get their promotions at the end of the year. And now all of a sudden, those people after 16 years, they're going to get the very hard lesson of in our society and our economic model, realistically, at the end of the day, if you do not bring in revenue and profit to your company, you are worse than worthless. Like what worthless? Worthless is if the cost of you equals the amount of money you bring into the company. That, to be clear, that is worthless. That is worth. Most of these people are not worth. Eli, you shouldn't call them worthless. You are correct. They cost the company money. Simply having them show up to work in the morning literally is a drain on the profit loss statement. And it'll be curious. It'll be curious to see what happens going forward. Again, with the Trump economy, whatever's going on with tariffs, right? We got this stuff. We got 48,000 jobs. We have tariffs on China. We're supposed to go up to by 100% on November 1st. Now apparently that's pushed out to November 8th. Who the hell knows what's going on? He had a good cry session. Added 10% tariffs to Canada just because his feelings were hurt. Right? We got that going on. We have U.S. auto factories that are now slowing down production and may shut down production because this company called Nexperia is no longer shipping chips to the rest of the world. That is going on, along with all the layoffs, along with the government shutdown. The government shutdown, right, where as I do this video, we're like 29 days into the government shutdown. Theoretically, November 1st, if the government doesn't open up, food stamps don't go out. Something like 40 million people in the United States who rely on food stamps to eat aren't going to get food stamps. Yeah, I mean, this is the macro world we are in, boys and girls. So yeah, I don't know. Make sure you understand why your position is actually valuable to the company. And think about what your plans A, B, C, D, E, F, and G might be. And also think about like what can you build? Like I think about this. Like for me, like I talk about these recessions or whatever. It's all boohoo and laughs, laughing through the tears. But they've actually also been good. But think about this, right? With the dot-com bust, right? The dot-com bust. I ended up working as a temporary file clerk at Mercy Hospital in Baltimore City, making $10 an hour. College degree, military, MCSE, whole 9 yards. Ended up being a temporary file clerk, making $10 an hour, living on the edge of the ghetto. And when I say I was on the edge of the ghetto, I literally walked my landlord's dogs 2 blocks into Reservoir Hill, a place called Reservoir Hill, 2 blocks in. I had a very nice older gentleman look at me and ask, "Are you lost?" Jesus Christ. My entertainment was $10 gallon bottles of vodka, right? I was so screwed. To say that I was screwed was... Anyways, I met this guy, Adolfo, when I had been in Seattle, talked about becoming a consultant. So it's like, you know what? I will put up some pull tab. The only reason, to be clear, I did not start a consulting business. I had no business plan. I had no executive summary. I was just sitting there looking at a gallon bottle of vodka and going, what the hell happened in my life? And I was like, you know what? I will put up some pull tab signs so at least I can have enough money to go buy and drink some good beer again. That was my executive summary. Slot RAM so I can afford good beer. Anyways, one thing led to another. Became a consultant, whether having employees and the whole 9 yards, right? The Great Recession happened, and had to shut that down. Zigged when I should have zagged. I knew bespoke programming was the future, but I was making so much money off of computer repair, right up until it wasn't. Anyways, trying to figure out what to do next. That's what got me into the whole doing videos. Didn't even start doing YouTube videos. Built my own little infrastructure. Started doing educational videos. One thing led to another. And hey, on YouTube for a while, I was doing pretty good. For a while, all right? But that's the thing. Like when these disasters happen, it's not that they're not bad. It's not that they're not hard to deal with. But they actually do give you opportunities, things to be thinking about, right? If you can start renting houses cheap, right? If the bottom falls out of the property market, you might not be able to rent a house for $2,000, but if it's a 5-bedroom house and you rent each bedroom for $700, you can make $3,500 a month simply by splitting it up and renting out the rooms. That's what they used to do in Seattle, probably still do in Seattle, right? There's a lot of opportunities that are out there that present themselves with a moment like this. Again, that's the thing to be thinking about when they talk about creative destruction, right? Out of all destruction, there are possibilities, there are opportunities that come out. I think about this with a lot of people if you're willing to go to consulting, right? So a lot of companies right now, they're dumping their staff, right? $100,000 for a marketing expert, or $100,000 for a graphic designer, $100,000 for a coder is just too much. Well, the cool thing is, right, if you become a consultant, you might be able to go back to those same companies, essentially charge 4x per hour. But you do a hell of a lot less work, and you're not on their unemployment scheme. Right? So instead of them spending $100,000 a year on you, they may only spend $20,000 a year on you, and you're doing, very little work in order to get that $20,000 a year, right? So instead of them paying you, $100,000 a year, what's that, like $80 an hour? So instead of them paying you $80 an hour to get $100,000 a year, what you can do is you can charge them, $250, $300 an hour for only the work that they actually need. You get 4, 5, 6, 7, 8 clients like that. All of a sudden, you can be making 3 or 4x what you were when you were a salary person. But also to understand with that, it takes motivation and dedication and all that kind of stuff. One of the things I get a little frustrated about right now is I see on LinkedIn, there's a lot of this crap about real job security as being an entrepreneur. Like whenever these events happen, there's this whole horse shit about being entrepreneurs. Look, being an entrepreneur is being an entrepreneur. It is what it is. There's benefits and drawbacks. So do be careful with it. Again, you've got to go out and pound the pavement. You've got to go out and schmooze. You've got to go out and figure out what people actually want. But if you're willing to do that, you'll be surprised the opportunities that are available to you. So anyways, there are some things to think about, because this is gonna get worse. This is like literally as this is going on, our president is still having fucking hissy fits. Our president is still having fucking hissy fits. The GOP, the welfare queens in Congress, the castrated poodles that are pissing themselves, pretending to be alpha dogs instead of actually being human beings, right? They're still not doing their jobs. So as all of this is occurring, we still are in just a dysfunctional, insane fucking political environment. So it's only gonna get worse. So things to think about. Is the joke over yet? Can I stop? Should I stop laughing? I don't know. I still think it's funny. I still think it's funny. Ah! Why is this happening? Have you been paying attention? Like, have you even looked at the news out of your peripheral vision over the past 16 years? Like, look, I'm not saying you got to track the stock market minute by minute, but you do know this stuff about interest rates and everything else. This cannot have like completely bypassed you, right? Anyways, so what do you think about this? What do you think about UPS cutting 34,000 jobs already this year, planning to cut 14,000 more. This boosts the stock price by 7%. So many of these employees are white-collar employees. What do you think about all of this? Put your thoughts down below. If you like these videos, give us a thumbs up. If you hate these videos, give us a thumbs down. Call me amazing, call me a dumbass. Just be a real Lutnick and do it down there in the comment section. Do remember my pride and joy is Silicon Dojo, silicondojo.com. Free D&D user hands-on technology education that empowers you to do what it is you want to do. We're having the AI and SQL class coming up next week. We're having the AI and web scraping class coming up on November 19th in Durham, North Carolina. These are in-person classes. Again, free D&D users, not actually free. That's why I'm shaking my brain nipples here. If you would like to throw some money into the donor box account, that would be ever so lovely. And with that, see y'all later.